Elden Ring is a great game, but if you are someone who's never played a Soulsborne game before, it can be daunting with its seemingly impossible bosses and open world full of random items you can pick up. For a first playthrough, there are a lot of things that you just don't have the habits down early game, and as such would be hard to know beforehand without any good explanation. This video seeks to show some tips and tricks and a good starting build to deal with the first boss and get, in my opinion, the best starting weapon you can. I would highly suggest you choose the Samurai starting class, and the Golden Seed is your keepsake. The Golden Seed allows you to get an extra Crimson Flask in the early game, and as such, will help you heal quite a lot. The Samurai starts with the Uchigatana and the Samurai Armor. The Samurai Armor is quite good for its weight early game, and the Uchigatana has bleed and also is a pretty good weapon early game. Your first encounter will be with the Grafted Scion. This is a fight you are not supposed to win, and as such you can just die. You can try your best, but even I struggle with it quite a lot. Right after that, you'll be brought into the Stranded Graveyard. I personally equip my blue flask to the left D-pad, so I can keep my red flasks as my primary thing. At our first Site of Grace, we will upgrade our flask and also allocate our blue flask to our red flask to give us the most healing as we can early game. Grab the first Site of Grace. Do not engage the Tree Sentinel early. This is not a mandatory boss and will cause you quite a lot of frustration. Just run straight over to the church. Get the Smithing Stone 1 and grab the Site of Grace. Now we're going to run into our first few enemies. I highly recommend sneaking around and backstabbing as much as possible in the early game, as this is a very powerful way to just one-shot easy enemies. There are some enemies in which you can't easily backstab. In that case, I would highly recommend using your Ash of War Unsheath. By holding left trigger, it will put it in your sheath, and by pressing right trigger, you will do a strong overhead slash. Run straight and grab the map fragment, then run around to this piece of rubble, making sure to get past all the enemies you can, roll down, and grab the Whetstone Knife. What the Whetstone Knife allows you to do is put Ashes of War on your weapons and allow you to get infusions, which can change the scaling of your weapon. Next, all of the enemies will be aggroed on you, and your goal is to just run straight to the Site of Grace up ahead. Upon reaching the Site of Grace, you're greeted by Melina. You can skip through her dialogue or you can listen to it. I would highly recommend listening to it if it is your first playthrough. She will give you the Spectral Steed Whistle, known as Torrent. This is your horse and will allow you to get through the game a lot quicker, and I put it on my right D-pad personally. Before anything else, warp back to the church and meet Ronnie, in which she will give you the Spirit Calling Bell in your first summon. For many players, there is a stigma against using these spirit summons, but personally, for a first playthrough, they are exceptionally helpful and allow you to take aggro off of yourself and allow the bosses to target something else. Personally, I replaced the Memory of Grace on the top slot with my Spirit Ashes. Next, warp back to Gatefront. We're going to get on Torrent, and then we are going to head directly south. Run past the enemies as best you can, although some will chase you. So we grab the next Site of Grace. We are going to pass time until morning, as there are some annoying enemies and a boss coming up, which you should not fight yet. Once morning comes, we will follow the path directly straight until we reach the bridge. Right before the bridge, you will find a Scarab. These drop helpful items such as smithing stones or Ashes of War, and you should always try your best to kill them. Right up ahead is your second Smithing Stone 1, which would allow you to make a +1 weapon, but I will go into more detail on upgrading later. First, we will turn left on this path and follow it all the way straight before turning right at this intersection, and go straight to the church at the very end. This church, we will find two very good items: a Sacred Tear, Flask of Wondrous Physic. This allows you to get temporary buffs every time you rest. It recharges, and you can find tears around the map which give you these bonuses. I will direct you to the first set, even if they're not super helpful. Just head directly southeast from the church. Jump up this cliff. Walk by this elevator, which takes you to Shofar River, which you'll be able to go to later, but I would not suggest it yet. And just up ahead, if you jump up, here are your first 2 sacred tiers. Following the path southeast, and this will lead you to your first castle. As you approach the fort, I would highly suggest not fighting a large number of the enemies around. There's another golden seed you can pick up right outside. I would suggest jumping around the pumpkin head and just running as soon as you enter. Kill the 2 firebomb throwing commoners. This next fight is not required, but will speed up something later. I would highly suggest fishing for backstabs as much as you can for a primary damage source. Most of his attacks are quite telegraphed. I would highly suggest dodging early and relative to the swing, as the backstabs will give you quite a large opening to regenerate your stamina, and you can dodge as many times as you need to just to not get hit. Another useful tip is make sure you focus on your health levels. If you do not think you could survive another hit, even if you don't know how strong their next hit is, I would always suggest topping up your health rather than leaving it. So I will drop the Bloody Slash Ash of War, which when we put it on our weapon, infuses it with blood, which will increase the bleed buildup. This will be useful for a later boss. Up this ladder we will find half of the Dectus Medallion. This is not an important item currently, but it will help you later in your playthrough. I had also forgotten the second map fragment, and to get there, just head directly east from the Site of Grace, and you will see a bear scratching a tree, and it should be clear from there. So we will walk back to the first church. We will run around back, and we will find a way gate, and we will use it to teleport to Caelid. From here, just run directly inside and sit at the Site of Grace. Melina will come back, and she will tell you if you wish to go to the Round Table Hold. You will accept this, and it will force teleport you. This is your hub area. It does not matter currently, but I would recommend looking at all of the shops and characters around. As you return to the Bestial Sanctum, you will run around and you will look for a root on the bottom of the cliff. I usually have to do a full run around before I can actually find it. First, you will jump down onto the root and slowly make your way down, jumping from root to root and then onto the roofs. Up onto this little ring right here, and slowly make your way down. Make sure not to take fall damage, and if you do, heal. And again, slowly make your way down. Once you are down, there's a couple things you can pick up to the left, but primarily we will be going to the right. Here you will find a dagger called the Cinquedilla, and if you continue, the Dragon Crest Shield Talisman. This talisman will boost your physical defenses, and if you are not confident in your dodging ability, this will significantly help with the first boss. It's going to run straight down the hill. You might aggro some enemies or bosses. Your goal is to just get to the next Site of Grace, pick up the golden seed, and run. This dragon, I would recommend just running straight through its legs and just keep pressing the B button so you keep dashing. This will make it so you're faster, and the dragon should not do any attacks that chase you. Run past the Putrid Avatar. There's the Spirit Spring just around the back of the tree. Grab the Site of Grace. Then we're back to the Church of LA and buy the crafting kit from Kale. So you're going to go to a Caden camp to pick up a cookbook. This will allow us to craft fire grease, which allows us to buff our weapon with fire damage for 60 seconds. This is a lot of running. To get through Fort Feroth, I would not suggest fighting anything, and just run as fast as you can. If you get poisoned going up this ladder, I would suggest either waiting it out at the top, or just making sure you keep healing whenever you get low. At the top we find the second half of the Dectus Medallion, and we will fall down just back here. Make sure to run past the first hole. An enemy will spawn, so make sure that you don't fall in. Run around and jump down here. We will turn right, and there's a soul item right at the edge here. Make sure the rat doesn't get you. And to jump across right here. Go around and down into a hole, and here we will find a Radagon Sorcery. Talisman can be known as a beginner's trap, as it increases the damage taken, but it gives you a significant amount of starting stats. So as such, it is good in moderation. I would suggest putting bleed on your weapon if you can, but first we will go to the first step. Turn around and look for a Spirit Spring down on the beach. Don't take any fall damage if you jump into a Spirit Spring. Run over, grab this item. Now to get a bunch of levels early. Nestle yourself within the leg of this dragon. Using your bleed Uchikatana, just keep swinging. Once it seems like one or so more bleeds will kill it, make sure to eat your gold Foulfoot. It should last long enough, but a last bleed usually will not kill, so make sure that you're cautious. If it does die, run back to the site of grace and wait. You will receive tons of runes. Leveling can be very touchy, but I would suggest this for your starting stats. 25 dexterity and 25 vigor will help you with taking and dealing damage. Leveling your last few stats could be anywhere, but I personally suggest endurance. Walk back to gate front. Past everyone. Pick up the golden seed and then site of grace just on the right. Just head east until you find the next site of grace, the War Master's Shack. And aggro the first troll that you find. By the statue. Make sure to keep an eye on either of them. Whichever one attacks first, run away, and then pick up your reward. Just to run through this campsite into the next site of grace. Run down the bridge and pick up 2 more smithing stones. Now this next part is completely optional. If you are not confident, you do not have to do this, but we can go through this cave, which will give you a good talisman for after the first boss. For the first 2 sections, just focus on falling and don't take any fall damage. Just keep running until you pass all of the wolves. And once you get down, jump onto this pillar. Then also follow up by jumping onto this circle. Run circles if you need to. Just follow the path up ahead. Run past the octopus. Go behind the waterfall. This boss should not be difficult. I would suggest using your spirit summon. This should help draw aggro away from yourself. I would suggest using the Unsheath Strong Attack at the start, which should be able to break his poise, and you can go for the critical. After that, just focus on attacking his legs when you can, and dodge whenever you think he's going to attack. This rewards you with the Blue Dancer Charm. The lower your equip load is, the more physical damage you will do. Going back to Fort Height, run directly towards the cliff, and then to the right until you find the Spirit Spring. Follow the path directly down to the bridge. Run past, and pick up the smithing stones that are right on the bridge. To make the fire grease, you need root resin and smoldering butterflies. Root resin can be collected directly next to the War Master's shack. Rest at the site of grace and it will respawn. For the smoldering butterflies, just head north until you reach the arches, and then head roughly east until you see the lava slugs. Pick up the butterflies around them and kill them as well. They have a chance of dropping butterflies. Do these runs around 5 times and you should have enough fire grease. Next, run up the hill. Another Scarab just up ahead who drops wild strikes. There are a couple options for your build, based on the 3 talismans that I've got you to collect. The Dragon Crest Shield Talisman is your best defensive option. The Radagon Sword Seal can help as your defense is already quite high, but the hit to defense can cause you to take more damage. If you are very confident, you can use the Blue Dancer Charm. Take off all of your armor and it will give you some extra damage. I would suggest you upgrade your weapon to +3, but if you can get away without doing it, you can upgrade to the weapon I will get you to grab later. That will be helpful in your future. Any of the talismans are good. I would highly recommend, if it is your first time, using the Dragon Crest Shield, but the Radagon Sword Seal can give you comparable survivability. Summon Sorcerer Rogier. Wait for a couple seconds before running in. I would highly recommend summoning whenever the option is there. Although, when you get better at the game, I would recommend not doing it. It is a very good, helpful distraction for bosses. To start, summon your wolves and drink your physic. Make sure that you keep your distance when can, and use your unsheaths at the start of the fight. Jumping strong attacks is also a very powerful offensive option, which can break stance quite quickly, as shown. Whenever you see Margit go down, go for a front critical when possible, as it seems to do more damage, but you can also do a critical from the back if needed. Using strong attacks can also help break stance, but primarily jumping attacks are your best bet. Whenever that hammer or sword is pulled out, try and keep your distance as best you can. Make sure you do not fall off as well. It is very easy to fall off in this boss room, especially with things pushing you around. If any of your summons or Rogier die, just make sure to keep your distance as best you can. Again, you are farming for poise breaks primarily. Whenever he is low, I would suggest using your light attacks or your unsheaths again. And that is Margit. Margit drops you a talisman pouch, which allows you to equip any 2. The Dragon Crest Shield mostly negates the downside of Radagon Sword Seal, and I would suggest using those 2. But it can also negate the downside of the Blue Dancer Charm, as not having armor, it still gives you 10% damage absorption. So I would weigh those 2 options together. Now, the next NPC you encounter can be used for a questline, but he is evil, so I would not suggest leaving him alive. Tell him, no, I'll use the main gate. Run over until you hear him scream. And then kill him. I do not expect you to do his questline on your first playthrough, and this will save you headaches later. Run outside and just jump around. You do not want to fall down. Follow the cliffside path that I take. Jump down here. would highly suggest buffing your weapon, as you will have to fight a few, but make sure to use your unsheath, as that is your strongest attack. Again, don't fall off. And make your way inside the castle. There's a stronger enemy waiting back here, so make sure to prepare to dodge. I would highly recommend not hitting those explosive barrels with your fire weapon. Picking up this item, this is the weapon I highly recommend, the hook claws. They are a very quick weapon that does a lot of damage and bleed. It can also be buffed by the fire grease, and it scales with dexterity. It is a very useful weapon early game. If you did not upgrade your Uchigatana, which I again highly recommend you don't, you can upgrade your hook claws to +4 already. And that is a very good setup to start off your game, and it should help you with some of the intuition. Dodging in this game can be very touchy, and I would highly recommend just practicing on some bosses. Erdtree avatars specifically go to Weeping Peninsula first. It is the easiest area, and I would highly recommend just exploring, picking up whatever items you can, and making sure to look at the map. If you need to look up any locations, don't feel like it's a bad thing. Especially early on, the wiki is your best friend. I would highly recommend just looking for any information you can, and never feel bad about summoning or taking any shortcuts. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope this helps with your playthrough.